fancy intro music. Yeah! Woo!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to kind of talk about rep grinding again. And there's a reason for it. There's an event going on, and it's one of the few SLBs in the game, or at least style of SLBs, that I really enjoy. By the way, shout out to this person on server 20. I was helping them out with their crews. It is a leaderboard that I love because you can actually fight for this and potentially score high/win as a free-to-play, depending on how much you're willing to actually grind. Now, before anybody in the comment section goes crazy, I already know what's going to happen, which is why I don't want to look you in the eye. But I know the bracket 51 through 70 is everybody, and you can't compete with a level 70. I get that. Sorry. I'm talking to the other 95%, 90% of the game who don't have to worry about that. Now, there are 50 spots, so maybe, just maybe, you have a chance of scoring. But here's what I like about these brackets. Again, anybody can go after them. You see, I'm going to work on that today. But to do that, let's talk about rep grinding as a whole and as a thing of like, how do we do it? Where do we do it? When do we do it? What crews do we use? All these different things. And we're going to start from the basics of even as early as when you should start rep grinding. So, number one, when should you start rep grinding? My answer to that is simple. As early as possible. I've actually always recommended that people start rep grinding around level 16, even as early as level 15. And you want to start dual faction grinding. You want to grind as much rep as you can. The purpose of rep grinding is obviously to get the credits in the individual factions. You want to get all the goodies that they can provide. And yes, I am grinding while watching to prove a point, like as you see my rep go up. But the point of rep grinding early on is so that you can get, in a positive favor with the various factions in the game. And we usually like to do at least 2 at a time because that means more faction credits, which means more if you're a low level player. So if you happen to be on server 707, 401, 705, 706, etc., one of the newer players, you want to be going after Federation recruits. Because you want to max out those officers early, because doing so allows you to get something called transporter patterns, which helps you with officer sourcing long term. But you'll also need a lot of faction credits to go after ships. Like me, one of my goals is to go after the USS Northcutt, which I need to get 1.5 billion reputation to do. So I'm grinding on that right now. But to do that, you need to hit hostiles. Every hostile you hit is going to drop reputation. For example, this one drops 64,000 base Federation and then a little bit of Romulan. So every hostile you hit is like a 2-to-1 ratio. You're going to get double for the main and then half that for the secondary. And then of course you're going to lose some with the main faction. Now the good news is, if you didn't remember this, factions have particular lock points. They will not go below. And I personally love this because they tried to remove it years ago. We fought them and Scopely put it back. But the faction locks are 10 million, 1 billion, 15 billion, and 500 billion. So like right now I'm hunting Klingon. It will not drop below 1 billion. It'll stay there. Why am I hunting Klingon? Because I've already collected all my Vorcha BPs, 100% free to play grounded out, because I no longer need that. So that's a goodie. We're happy, we're healthy, we're grinding. And you can see other people are also grinding as well in some of these deeper systems. So the premise of rep grinding is simple. We want to increase our reputation and then get the rewards like faction credits to spend on ships, officers, etc. Now let's talk about the actual way to do that. Well, one of your earliest crews to do that is going to be basic right here, Pipe Moreau Chin, or Next Gen LaForge, Next Gen Crusher Chin. The reason I mentioned the early group is if you're like a level 16 player that happens to be watching, and they do exist, we're going to scroll back and find this group. So you would actually do Next Gen LaForge, Next Gen Crusher, Chin / Talon as your group, with Chin being the main one for energy weapons. So your traders, your explorers, etc. is what you're going to fight with this. This is a typical starter crew. There are also multiple officers that increase the amount of rep you get when you go about doing the grinds. I actually have a couple of them deployed, so I'll show them to you here by bringing my ships home and going over officers that boost the rep you get as an ability, as well as just simple loot gain. And there are several different ways to actually boost the amount of rep that you get. We'll start with officers. So I'm at the manage screen where we'll scroll right over. if you are a player in the 40s looking at getting a level 46 ship, one of the values to level 46 ship, whether it's the Pylum, the Coronar, or the Newton, is all three of them have this ability called Empire Tax, which improves the resources gained from hostiles. And yes, that works for reputation gain. It's one of the reasons that 46s are so popular. However, abilities like Captain Picard's Prerogative and 5 of 11's ability also work, so increases the rewards gained from hostiles and Armada. For me, it's 120% based on the synergy of these officers, and yes, that does in fact work with reputation. So I'm gonna go ahead and repair that real quick. We also have other officers like this guy right here, Mr. Harry Kim. If you look, increases all positive reputation gains by 10%. Granted, that's going to be based on his level, so you can use the Voyager crew for reputation gaining, as well as just general usage. You also have below deck abilities that can do that. For example, Renaissance Man increases all resources dropped by 20%. That's the EMH, the doctor from Voyager, by the way, who a lot of people would have on top, but because I'm using it on the Tribune, I'm not worried about putting it on top. So I've got him below decks to simply give me more reputation. You also have Alonzo Freeman. You see right here, Alonzo Freeman increases all FKR reputation by whatever level you have leveled him up to. Now, in terms of crewing, you saw the Pipe Road Chin. Also going to show you several of these crews right here, because knowing the crews you need is literally a lot of your battle. So Strange New World, Voyager, Enterprise E, there are a lot of different variants that you can run. I am using this variant right here. We could actually split Strange New Worlds up into 2 different groups now, because there are so many good Strange New World officers. You could use, for example, if you didn't have this one, you could put this up here for if you had a battleship. That's what Ortega's is for. If you are using Spock, you could have Spock up there, or even La'an, depending on what style of ship you're using. La'an's just going to be there for giving you that percentage to Pike. Now, why do you want that percentage to Pike? Because his captain's ability when fighting hostiles increases your shield. I like to use shield bypass. So it takes from 80 up to, in this case, 91%. With full synergy, it's even higher. But you see, I've got 2 commanders up here simply because I am using Strange New World and Banga's shield heal ability, which not necessarily needed, but I simply have it. I could also just throw this up here if I was in an interceptor, which I'm not. I am not in an interceptor. I would need to go grab Spock, and that brings it up to, a higher percentage. So if I hit confirm and then hit assign officers, you're going to see that is now 14. So 94% is how much the shields would now stop. But the biggest one here is Hemmer for going against traders. There's a reason that we focus on traders in 5-star and below. Traders pay out the most reputation, so that's why we tend to go after them. Traders give the best rep, so we hit traders. They also have typically 1 weapon, meaning they deal a smaller amount of damage, making them easier to target and go after, thus more profitable for you as a player. You survive longer and deal more damage versus what they're able to deal to you. Another classic now is the Voyager crew. Now, there's several different ways you can run this, and I'm not saying this is the most efficient way. A more efficient way of running this is for me to put something up top that actually has an ability. For example, like this guy right here. The reason I don't do that is honestly quite simple, if I'm being honest. The reason I don't do it is simply because I would rather get the loot bonus below decks, but that's why I have it on the Tribune, because the Tribune is strong enough to not need that lower ability. So it's not really bothering me at all to have that. And then you have Belana Torres, who is another great below deck officer. And that's why I don't have her above decks, because I have her on the Pylum to combine with you for critical hits. So that hull breach is active, but she does have a good ability right here. When you take damage from a non-player hostile armada, increases your armor, shield, piercing, and accuracy by quite a bit. And it's cumulative. So she's a great one to have up top. But again, I have more value from her being below decks in this loadout right here, which is arguably my strongest hostile loadout that I'll run that includes loot boosting, even though I don't have other loot officers. Now, last but not least, don't want to forget this. There are also loot exo comps you absolutely want to be using, like you can see this Federation one I have right here. How do you obtain those loot exo comps? Well, if you go into your officer's menu, hit recruit, you'll find the amalgam special. Now, this is part of the amalgam loot. I'll be honest, I don't grind the amalgam anymore. I use my Voyager commerce insignias to get this, but doing so will give you these exocomps. Sadly, didn't get a Federation one there, but I did get exocomps and Honor Guard Wharf Shard. So value in this little refinery that you get, especially once you max out your amalgam. These are how you get these reputation gains, and everything adds up. There are, of course, tons of researches in the game that increase the reputation that you earn, and I would love to see somebody list them all down in the comment section down below, because there are a lot of them, but I'll show you some of them. Because again, the goal is to increase the amount of reputation you're getting, especially for an event like today. You come into the Starships tree, scroll all the way to the end. The Monavine just came out. This is for players up in the 40s. Increases the base amount of Federation, Romulan, and Klingon gained when fighting hostiles. But besides that, you also can go back into other trees. I believe it's the Station tree. Let me make sure. If you scroll down, there's the structures. It might not be this one. It might be the combat tree. There's too many trees at this point, but it is what it is. Let's try the Galaxy tree next. Yeah, right here, Klingon Apprentice, increasing the amount you get by hitting hostiles. Just simply another example of that existing. Klingon Devotion, same thing. This is for using a Klingon ship versus using a Romulan ship and using a Federation ship. There are other options to do that as well in XP land. So these are all the different ways that you need to know for rep grinding. There are even commanders. Go into your skill tree for Commander Kirk. You'll find I'm using the Federation one right now to give another bonus to the amount of rep I get each individual hit. So this game does have a lot of options to increase that. Hopefully this video helps you find all those different ways and more, or at least point you in the right direction. You have a lot of different crews that you can use between Strange New Worlds, the Janeway crew with Voyager, Enterprise E, Pipe Moro Chin, and Pipe Moro Talon, or Picard Beverly Chin, Picard Beverly Talon. We have a lot of different groups. In fact, I would love the chat to help out. We love the interaction here. So if you're out there, I want you to list your top 3 grind crews in the comment section down below, because clearly it is difficult to list all of them here because there are so many. So you list your top 3 down below. I'll actually heart my favorites, and that might help other people who are watching this video. Live long and plunder. Stay safe with those space cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next Star Trek Fleet Command video. Love you, appreciate you. And if you haven't already, come hang out with us and hit me up.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.